Hier ist die neue Folge der Ökonomie-Videos.
Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into something that really affects every single one of us. This quiet but very real push to get rid of physical cash. It's a huge debate, convenience versus control, and it's happening a lot faster than you might realize. All right, let's get right into it.
First things first, we got to understand a key term: legal tender. So in the Eurozone, the law is pretty clear. Euro banknotes are the one and only unlimited legal tender. What that means is, if you owe a debt, the other person legally has to accept your cash to settle it. It's the foundation of what makes money, well, official money.
And that leads to this really weird situation, right? If cash is the official government-backed money, then why are governments themselves putting limits on it? Why are they letting stores refuse it? It just doesn't seem to add up. And look, this isn't some far-off theory. This is happening right now, and it's picking up speed. You can see it starting back in 2011, with country after country in Europe slapping these pretty strict caps on cash payments. But what's really wild is that in places like Germany, you can't even pay your taxes with cash anymore. Think about that. You can't use the state's own money to pay the state. It's a strange loop. So what's the official line? Why is this happening? Let's take a look at the arguments for going cashless, because, to be fair, on the surface, they sound pretty good.
And yeah, we're all super familiar with the alternatives. You've got the simple tap of a card, you've got your phone, which uses that NFC tech, and of course, for online stuff, you just click a button with PayPal or Apple Pay. The whole idea is to make paying for things totally seamless, almost invisible.
So the big pitch for this cashless future really boils down to 5 main promises. They say it's way more convenient for us, it's more hygienic, which was a huge talking point during the pandemic. They also say it cuts costs for businesses, helps put a stop to crime, and, this is a big one, it gives governments new ways to manage the economy. But let's zoom in on that lowers business costs argument, because it's a little tricky. If you look at this data from Germany's central bank, a single cash payment costs a store about 24 cents to process, while a debit card costs 33 cents. So you'd think, okay, cash is cheaper. But, and this is the key, when you look at the cost as a percentage of the sale, cash is actually more expensive for the business to handle. That's a big reason why so many companies are pushing for digital. And then you get to the really heavy economic argument. So when the economy is in trouble, central banks cut interest rates to get people to spend money. But what happens if they need to go below zero? In the world we live in now, people would just say no thanks, pull all their cash from the bank and stick it under the mattress. But if there's no physical cash to pull out, well, then central banks get this very powerful and controversial new tool to essentially force spending and jolt the economy.
Okay, so that's the utopian vision, a super convenient, perfectly managed economy, but there is a flip side, and critics are out there raising some major red flags about what we'd be giving up.
Let's take that crime-fighting claim. Okay, sure, getting rid of cash would make it tougher for someone to run a local drug deal or dodge taxes on small jobs, but critics point out that criminals are, adaptable. They'll just switch to other currencies or trade in valuable things like jewelry. Plus, let's be real, the biggest financial crimes out there, they're already happening digitally. So it's not exactly the magic bullet it's made out to be.
And then there's the simple fact that the whole digital system is, well, kind of fragile. We've all been there, right? Your phone dies, the card reader's down, the internet's out. In a world without cash, those little frustrations become total showstoppers. But beyond that, you've got much bigger worries, like a major hack, or even a bank failing, which is when you're hit with the cold, hard truth. Your digital balance isn't something you actually possess. It's just a promise, a claim you have on a private company. This all leads to this really powerful German concept, the Gläserne Bürger. It translates to the glass citizen. Think about it. In a world with no cash, there is no such thing as an anonymous purchase. Every coffee, every donation, every single thing you buy leaves a digital trail. You become completely transparent to anyone who has access to that data. So who gets to see all that data? Well, your spending habits, what you buy, where you buy it, and when, suddenly become this incredibly valuable product.
Big data companies can hoover it all up, build a detailed profile on you, and then sell it. Your privacy isn't yours anymore. It's a commodity.
So this begs a huge question, right? If there are all these downsides for the average person, the loss of privacy, the system's fragility, then who stands to gain the most? Who's really pushing for this? To figure that out, you have to understand this one crucial distinction. The cash in your wallet is central bank money. It's a direct debt of the government to you. It's the real deal. But the number you see in your banking app, that's different. That's commercial bank money. It's basically an IOU from a private bank, a claim that they owe you that much legal tender if you ask for it. And that is the key. That's the whole game. Because if you get rid of cash, the only type of central bank money we can actually hold, then all that's left is commercial bank money. And that means to access your own money, you have no choice but to go through a private gatekeeper, like a bank or a payment processor. And who are these gatekeepers? Well, wouldn't you know it, a lot of them have teamed up in a group called the Better Than Cash Alliance. And you look at the members. You've got the huge payment companies, Visa and MasterCard. You have giant corporations like Coke and H&M. Even governments and major foundations are in on it. It all starts to make sense, doesn't it? They all have a direct financial reason to want every single transaction to run through their systems.
So when you pull back and look at the big picture, it's pretty clear this whole debate is about way more than just whether we use paper or plastic. It's about what kind of financial world we want to live in and what kind of society we're building for the future.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to one fundamental trade-off. We're being offered incredible convenience, but what are we giving up in return? Well, we're giving up a huge amount of control, our personal privacy, and the freedom that comes from having a way to pay for things that's anonymous and independent. And that leaves us with one last, kind of chilling question to chew on. In a world with absolutely no cash, where every cent you own is just a number on a private company's server, a claim, not a possession, can you really still call it your money?